So each of you should have received a paper plate this morning, right? And I'm sure as you were handed the plate, you're wondering, well, what are we going to do this week? So I need everybody to get out their paper plates, like to actually physically hold it in your hand. If you don't have a plate, does everybody have a plate? Yeah? Okay. Well, we've all heard the phrase, my plate is full, right? Well, I'd like you to look at your plate and envision all the things that fill up your plate. What is it that actually fills up your plate? Because I can easily run through a general list of all the things that I think fill up our plates. You know, I can say to you it's work and it's family and friends and medical issues and church and sports and cleaning the house. The list could go on and on. But I would like you to just take a moment and look at your plate and think specifically about your own life. So as you're thinking, instead of just saying work, that's one of the things on your plate. Think about how specifically it fills your plate. Like maybe you've been logging too many hours. Or maybe you're starting a new position. Or you're having difficulties with a coworker. Or the project you're working right now is your dream assignment. So just what are the things on your plate? Well, I'm guessing that some of them are good, and some of them are not so good. Some of them are the slow-roasted chicken breast, if you eat meat, and some of them are the stewed beets. Because for me, stewed beets, I'm sorry, out of all the vegetables in the world, I'm not a fan. I don't need them on my plate. Anyway, there's a bunch of stuff, right, on your plate. Well, I will admit that sometimes my plate gets so full that I would really love to just fling it across the room and watch it as it slams against the wall and everything just sort of crushes to the floor and it's just done. Anybody else ever feel that way? Play frisbee with your plate? See, I know this about myself, and we all know it about most people. We have all these things that fill up our plates that don't ultimately leave us feeling satisfied. We end up with our minds on our stomachs, so to speak, because it's very easy to let the stuff of life become our focus, when it seems like we just keep getting served helping after helping after helping. Well, this week as I was reading through the things for worship, the prayers and the lessons, I was sort of listening to how they all fit together. So as I read the prayer of the day, I thought, okay, well, I guess we're lying to God this week in prayer. And generally, I find it inappropriate and downright offensive to lie to God to his face. And I thought about rewriting the prayer, and then I decided that maybe it's something we should think about. Maybe it's God challenging us. Because I most certainly do think that Jesus challenges us. So by now, if you haven't already, you're probably about ready to flip back and look at the prayer of the day to figure out how exactly we lied to God. So the prayer says, O God, eternal goodness, immeasurable love, you place your gifts before us. We eat and are satisfied. We are? Satisfied? Is that true? Do we even eat of the gifts that God places before us, or do we manufacture our own food? These are questions because I'm not really convinced about the satisfied piece. And I feel a little bit badly saying that, but it seems worse to not put that out there. We eat and we are satisfied. And then the psalm says, the people ate and were well filled, for God gave them what they craved. And then the people say to Jesus, Sir, give us this bread always. A plea which echoes our own hearts. And Jesus promises them, I am the bread, the food of life. Whoever comes to me will never be hungry and will never be thirsty. And I have issues with this. And I'm not really trying to take issue with Jesus. It's just that I hear these words and I have to hold them in tension with reality. Is being satisfied as easy as adding bread to our plates? As easy as adding a little Jesus into our lives to spice things up? It seems this is not the case. Actually, this just seems to make us bloated. Because the disciples missed the point of eating bread, and Jesus knew it. Because if we back up a little bit, last week, this gospel lesson with the boy and the fish and the loaves is connected to this. Jesus has journeyed to another city, and the people go looking for him. Which is actually what I would do too. This guy just does a great miracle, and I've had great fish and bread, and now he's gone. I'm going to go look for him too. Well, the full-bellied people do find Jesus. And Jesus cuts to the chase. Basically says, you're tracking me down because I fed you, not because you saw the signs of God. Maybe the disciples were supposed to be doing something else besides looking for Jesus, since their bellies were already full. Because apparently it's not just about the bread. It's not just about eating, at least according to Jesus. So what does it mean to be fed by living bread? To be actually fed by Jesus? I'm going to share something with you that I talk about occasionally, but not with very many people. I hate to eat. At least I used to. Eating food used to cause me a lot of anxiety. At some point in my life, the purpose of food lost its point for me. Food became something I could control, and I could make myself feel better, rather than it being something that my body utilized. Food, or lack of food, in my case, was a quick fix. So, if my plate felt too full, then I could make myself feel better by not eating. It was this weird type of satisfaction, a temporary energy boost, which seems contrary to the ways in which we think that food works. But I was able to not eat my way into a false sense of satisfaction. And there are many problems with this, not the least of which was, at some point, my body really wasn't able to function on no food. So whenever we start on these bread of life discourses of Jesus, which we're going to be going through for the next 4 weeks or so, I begin at the base of food has a purpose. And Jesus knows this and seizes this reality. Over and over again, he is bread. And we're supposed to eat him. And that's just odd. And it always sounds moderately cannibalistic to me. But Jesus' words, without fail, always seem to have more seasoning to them when we truly begin to ingest them. My eating or not eating became about me. Someplace along the way, I lost the fact that food has a purpose. And maybe that sometimes happens to us within our relationship with Jesus. Maybe sometimes it becomes about what Jesus does for us and how Jesus makes us feel. I think that if Jesus were going to call us on things today, he would whip out one of these. I know the teenagers know what this is. He'd whip out one of these and say, I'm not a 5-hour energy boost. I'm not a quick jolt or a tiny tidbit that you can just take whenever you need an inoculation or a shot. Have you ever seen those little devotionals? Sometimes they're called like manna from heaven or daily bread, right? And typically they offer a little snippet of wisdom from the Bible to get us through the day. Or if you're on Facebook, there's a variation on this, sayings from like Godly Woman or Jesus' daily photo. Really, Jesus has a daily photo? And I'm actually not trying to slam them, because if there's going to be any daily photo of Jesus out there, I'm happy for it to be a God saying. But it seems like we add these little snippets of Jesus to patch up our lives, to make ourselves feel satisfied when we aren't really. The good thing about my heightened awareness of food is that I'm very conscious of eating. I am actually acutely aware of the fact that caloric intake is necessary not only for the health of my own body, but also for the health of those around me. Now, before you start thinking I'm reducing Jesus to a 500-calorie snack pack, let me just say that I'm trying to get us to think about the why it is necessary to eat living bread, or to take in Jesus. You know, I am a runner. If I don't eat enough calories, then I can't perform. We all take in food to export energy. I can't be the mom, friend, pastor, daughter that God would have me be if I don't have the energy for it. If I haven't taken in the love of God, the manner of Christ, and the power of the Spirit, I can't be that person. The people ask, what must we do to perform the works of God? And Jesus' response is not, you silly disciples, you can't do the works of God. Seriously, if you back up, do the works of God. Jesus thinks and knows and believes that the people can do the works of God. And that's downright amazing. And Jesus thinks that about us too. That you and I can do the works of God. And not just do God's work, but actually work in the manner God would do. And that, for me, is incredibly humbling and empowering and scary all at the same time. Is it possible that Jesus wants us to eat of him so that we have the strength to do something? Because I ultimately think that's where the satisfaction piece comes in. As Lutherans, we get all weird when we start thinking about good works. We have been told over and over again that doing good works is not what saves us. And it isn't. Jesus' life and death and resurrection is, and God's unfailing love and forgiveness is. We are, in God's eyes, saved before we even know that we need saving. The fact might be that the terribly delicious piece of this whole thing is that God's unfailing love and forgiveness. That's the point that Jesus wants us to fill up on. The point of Jesus is not to make us feel better. It is to empower us to change the world, to heal friendships, to walk away from self-destructive behaviors. Jesus doesn't feed us so that we can sit back and relax. There's nothing very couch potato-y about eating the bread of life. So I'd like you to go back to your paper plate. Pick them back up. You guys come back to life. See all that stuff on your plate? It's not going away. And I have to say here that I'm sorry that some of the stuff is so hard and tiring. And that stuff, those things, are actually your works for God. That is actually the stuff that God needs you to change, to love, and to fight for. And God's promised to empower you to do so. So, how to be satisfied with that paper plate? I'm sure you're hoping I'd offer a quick fix diet, and I can't. But I'm in good company because Jesus doesn't either. It's a long-term change of eating patterns. Daily take in love and forgiveness and mercy and grace, and daily export and exercise love and forgiveness and mercy and grace. Then repeat.